There aren't many young players in the NBA right now more exciting than Anthony Edwards. The things that he does on the basketball court have the word superstar written all over them, and he's already established himself as a dominant force in the NBA in just a few short seasons. In this video, I want to try and put into perspective just how good Anthony Edwards already is, and I also want to hopefully clear up some misconceptions about his game so I can paint a picture of how good he possibly can be. So let's jump right into it. He's improved in almost every single area of the game over the past 3 seasons, but the thing that's really stood out has been his ability to rise to the occasion in the postseason. Even if the Timberwolves haven't been particularly successful, he's still always been a bright spot in the playoff appearances that they have had. His scoring continues to rise to a new level in the playoffs, going from around 23 points per game on league average efficiency over the past 2 regular seasons to over 28 points per game on well above league average efficiency over the last 2 playoff appearances that he's had. The playoffs are obviously a smaller sample size, but the fact that he's proving that he's capable of elevating his game to a new level when it matters the most is a really promising sign for his future. And it also makes it to where you can kind of live with some of the hiccups that he's had throughout the regular season, because if he's able to just play better in the postseason, then you got to live with the bumps in the road along the way. His increased scoring output this year was built on the back of some improved 3-point shooting, as well as some more specific things happening with his scoring inside the arc. Let's start off by talking about the 3-point shooting, because this is a really big area of his game. Edwards has never really had an issue with creating his own shot. Ever since his rookie season, he's been one of the better space creators from beyond the arc and even shown that he can knock down some really difficult shots. Here's the play types where Ant is attempting the largest amount of his threes from. As you can see, they're either spot-up shots, ISO shots, or pick-and-roll ball handler shots. He has steadily improved as a spot-up 3-point shooter and as a 3-point shooter as the pick-and-roll ball handler throughout his career, and even though his isolation perimeter shooting has fluctuated, you also got to consider the fact that those isolation shots are more often than not very difficult shots. So that 34% mark isn't too bad right now, and honestly I expect it to continue to improve. What I'm really excited about though is that pick and roll ball handler 3-point percentage. Last season, defenses were pretty hesitant to send guys out to the 3-point line to defend Ant coming off of a screen in the pick and roll, and he understandably would punish them as a result. See how Drew Eubanks is in drop coverage when Ant's coming off this screen from Gobert? Grant is forced to go under the screen, but since Eubanks doesn't even bother to step up, it allows Edwards to get a completely wide open, uncontested shot. Now, even when he's not going against drop coverage, he can still abuse weak defense. Here, 𝙗𝙗 is going to step up to switch, but he doesn't step up fully to the 3-point line when Ant comes off this screen, and so it leaves him a nice little pocket of space to get the shot off. Bam Adebayo is one of the most switchable defenders in the entire NBA, and for some reason, even he doesn't step up to Ant beyond the arc, and it leaves him a wide open shot. Now let's rewind and say, hypothetically, that Bam did step up and him and Caleb Martin trap Edwards. Well, in that case, it leaves Gobert open on the roll, so if Ant can get to the point where teams are hedging the pick and roll or trapping him entirely, then that's going to open up even more opportunities and make things even more complicated for opposing defenses when they're trying to stop Anthony Edwards. Now, obviously, it's important for the Timberwolves to make the most out of what Anthony Edwards can do on ball, but I think a very underrated part of his game is how much he can actually do for you off ball. He kind of exists in that realm of wings that are effective as on-ball creators, but you can also get a lot of value out of them when you're using them in an off-ball role. A good example of this is Jason Tatum. He's a guy that we all know can break guys down off the dribble, he can create his own shot, but you can really complicate things for a defense if you have him coming off of off-ball screens to help put them in a position where they're making the defense simultaneously navigate the off-ball action, as well as having to figure out how they're going to stop this high-level shot creator that just got the ball. The benefit of this is advantage creation. On this possession, the ball is going to be swung from Alexander Walker to Kyle Anderson on the weak side corner, and that results in Christian Braun having to rotate over to the corner with Ant being left open. Anderson is going to make the extra pass, and Ant's going to pump fake the shot to get Jeff Green to bite on it, which forces the rest of the Nuggets defenders to collapse on Edwards as he drives to the basket, and he ultimately carves through them to get to the rim for the finish. Now let's rewind a little bit. What's the advantage that was created here? Well, Ant forced Bruce Brown, Christian Braun, and Jokic all to put defensive attention onto him, which left Murray as the only guy available to make a rotation on a weak side kickout or a dump off to Gobert. That's an advantage. You've got two passing options and only one defender that can actually do anything to try and mitigate that advantage. In this case, Ant takes it into his own hands and he scores it, but we've actually seen that he's getting better at knowing when to really leverage those advantages that he's created into open looks for his teammates. Here's a good example of what I'm talking about. D'Lo passes to Ant on the wing, and he's going to attack Hart, who closes out a little bit too hard with his right foot. This prompts the paint defender to hang out more towards Edwards, leaving Gobert behind him. So Edwards capitalizes on the advantage by throwing the lob up to Rudy, and he's going to put it in. On this strong side pick and roll with Naz Reid, Sabonis is going to hedge, and Murray stays focused mostly on Edwards while Reid is rolling, prompting Fox to slide forward from the weak side to have some deterrence on Reid in case Edward gets it to him on the roll. This leaves Anderson open in the corner, so Ant just pops up to sling it out for an easy 3 points. When the Timberwolves run high pick and rolls with Ant, it can create an advantage without him ever even having to touch the paint. First and foremost, look at how much space the Timberwolves are already working with at the start of this possession. All Edwards has to do is get by his first defender, and then the Rockets are going to immediately be at a disadvantage. His drive is going to be enough to force Gordon to slide over from the elbow to stun at the nail, but Ant immediately punishes it with a pass to D'Lo for 3. Finding a nice blend between putting the ball in his hands and using him as a secondary creator is really going to be the key to fully unlocking all that he can do on and off the ball, and it's going to open up a lot of options for the Timberwolves. Now, there's been a lot that's been made of Anthony Edwards' potential as a defender, and I'll be the first to tell you there is no shortage of potential. But there's a big difference between having the potential to be an elite defender and that outcome actually coming to fruition. So what exactly is the truth with his current level of defensive ability? This is a pretty lukewarm take, but he's a good defender right now. I'm not going to say that he's elite just yet. There are things that he does that he is elite at, but he still has some growing to do. And a lot of it has to do mostly with just being invested and constantly giving a solid level of effort on every defensive possession. The non-effort related issues that he has on the defensive end are things that are likely going to work themselves out as he starts to get more reps under his belt. Here's a good possession that kind of encapsulates the Anthony Edwards experience on defense. The pick and roll is happening up top, and he's pulled pretty far away from the corner, seemingly to provide help on Zubac. But this is going to leave Terrence Mann wide open for the backdoor cut. Zubac finds him, but Gobert makes sure that Mann bails out of the shot at the rim, and then Edwards ends up coming over and getting a block on Zubac. So yes, he got a block and recovered, but the beginning of the possession that led to all that happening wasn't necessarily good defense. One of the things that excites me the most about Anthony Edwards on the defensive end, he is going to be one of the very best non-big weak side help defenders in the entire NBA. And there's an argument that he already is. His combination of athleticism and 6'9" wingspan make it to where he can catch a lot of guys attacking the rim off guard, ultimately disrupting their shots in some sometimes pretty vicious ways. Another thing he excels at when in on-ball situations is when guys go to turn around and switch directions. He's smart with knowing when to jump behind them to swipe the ball away, and it's something that often turns defense into offense. He has active hands, and that wingspan and speed allows him to poke balls loose and nab steals when he's defending in isolation. He also has the knack for swiping the ball loose when guys are driving to the rim for layups or dunks. Pretty much the only difference between him being an elite defender and him just being a good defender is effort, just being bought in on every possession. And that's something that I think improved throughout the course of the entire season last year, and it's probably going to continue to improve this year. The Timberwolves still have some questions that they have to answer after last season, but Anthony Edwards is not one of them. He's on a trajectory that very few players are on, and there's really no telling just how good he can be. I feel like the phrase, "the sky is the limit," gets thrown around probably a little bit too much when we're talking about young players, but for Anthony Edwards, it definitely applies. So what do you guys expect from Anthony Edwards next season? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. If you guys enjoyed this video and you like content like this, consider subscribing while you're here so you never miss another video. I'm putting out stuff like this all the time, and we got the NBA season coming up, so there's going to be even more. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.